It was a 4-1 final. One of the biggest ghosts of Christmas past, David Ayres. He was there. He was there blowing some sort of foghorn, some sort of air raid siren.
Air raid siren, yeah.
Right.
Just getting in their heads. And they're playing really badly. And they're playing like when we see, when the Canucks were playing, badly. And any whatever team you're a fan of, you've seen your team struggling, overthinking, worried they're going to screw up, zero confidence, and everybody, it's been the topic du jour literally just today of what's wrong with the Leafs, where do you put the blame, how much blame can we put on Will Arnett and the Amazon Plus cameras and
everything.
How fragile is Mitch Marner?
Yeah. So they lost 4-1 against the Canes tonight, and man, I honestly, I just want to go through the step-by-step process of what happened tonight. So, Austin Matthews scores a goal, a wraparound goal against Freddie Anderson. The moment he scores this goal, guys, I have never went to my betting site faster in my life.
Arash started gambling on sports last week.
I'm rich. It's fine. It's really easy to bet on hockey when you know everything.
He's a rich man.
I'm a rich man. And I've gone too far. Somebody better stop me now. So
hang on. When he scores that goal, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
When he scores that goal, that was his first point. His first point in 4 games in the regular season. Austin Matthews scored. Why did you think when he gets that monkey off his back that the Leafs are going to lose that game?
Okay. Straight. My thought process is. First, David Ayres' curse. That has nothing to do with what the product is on the ice. It's just like happenstance fairy dust stuff. Freddie Anderson is playing against his old team for the first time in a long time.
Right.
The track record of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the last few games has been what it is.
Is Jake Gardiner still in?
No, he's injured.
Okay.
It's
because there's another ghost right there.
It was quite. Well, I mean, it's really funny with the goaltenders of Carolina, their history. I mean, you look back at James Reimer and like Peter Mrazek's on Toronto now. Freddie Anderson is now in Carolina.
There's a lot of ghosts in that cupboard.
Yeah,
a lot of skeletons.
So what my mentality is just strictly that Carolina is playing with better pace, they're deeper, and they just have Toronto's number. So the moment that Austin Matthews scores, in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, so the betting people are going to be like, oh, well, they're going to favor Toronto. They're going to give me higher odds on Carolina. And what happened? What happened in the first period? So Austin Matthews scores. They have 3 shots on net. For the remainder, they get 1 shot on net. Carolina is buzzing. Yeah. Trocheck misses on a breakaway. And there's another 2-on-1 with Martinook and what's his name? Well, Martinook and like Jesper Fast, I think. Second period comes around and they just steamrolled him.
Yeah,
steamrolled him.
The shots went from about 11 to 3.
It was 8 to like 20 shots for a good 10 to 12 minutes.
Part of me thinks that as soon as Austin this is a team that kind of is built on we're good. We know we're good. Everybody knows we're good. As long as we stay good, we'll be fine. Yeah. And I think as soon as Austin Matthews scores his first goal, everybody goes like, oh, okay.
Right.
It all is going to make sense. It's all going to fall into place.
What they did is like Austin Matthews scores the first goal, and they played we're going to defend this 1-goal lead for the next 55 minutes.
As if there's one thing that
is literally what they did. Their mentality wasn't, okay, we need to go get another one.
Right.
They just completely turtled and were afraid to lose. They're like, oh my God, we scored a goal. Oh my God. And so how I figure what the problem with Toronto is, there's only so many times with an analytics-based system where you can say, okay, the odds were not in our favor this year. Oh, the odds aren't in our favor this year. Oh, analytics, it's a aberration. It's a fluke. It's a whatever. And for 5 years straight, you know, you keep saying, well, yeah, but analytically, their odds are in our favor. It's just, how could we have guessed for Pierre-Luc Dubois? How could we have guessed that, Alexander Ovechkin? How could we have guessed
you mentioned Ovechkin.
Montreal? Whatever.
You mentioned Ovechkin, and I get to think, because we've seen this for 5 years now.
Yeah.
If the Washington Capitals didn't win that Stanley Cup in 2018, where it's like, hey, we're going to keep these four guys together for about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
It will work eventually. I mean, you're already thinking about, oh, Kyle Dubas already got his own coach. That's one coach fire. You can't fire Kyle Dubas without getting rid of Sheldon Keefe. But goddamn, Alex Ovechkin had like 45 coaches.
Yeah, but
they stuck with that process, and so, and because that worked, there is reason to keep that in place in Toronto.
No, I disagree. Strictly based on
that playoff success the Washington Capitals had.
You have to get out of the first round, Ryan. If the Washington Capitals are knocking on the door, if they're getting out of the first and second round, if they're running into Sidney Crosby every year, and that's the biggest thing, and they're actually pushing and making some sort of progress and moving forward as a franchise, yeah, you keep coming back at it because you're like, well, shit, it's not like we're getting bounced in five games in the first round.
Right.
Toronto has had every chance, has had every opportunity to get their shit together and do this analytic based, okay, well, if our top players are superstars and we pay them and they play a portion of the game, Moneyball in the aggregate down the line, we're going to win this and this and this and this. I'm not going to panic for Toronto because the only person I care about is Steve Dangle. Bless that man, that poor, because it's kind of brilliant what he does.
He is a sadist, and he benefits off it.
It's not only that he's a sadist; it's that we're all sadists. The only Steve Dangle videos that we watch, that people outside of Toronto watch, is when they lose.
Yeah, and
Steve Dangle is for 15 to 20 minutes he's like losing his mind, and we watch it and we love it, and we want to spread it on our fucking toast and just eat it every morning, and we love it. But so with Toronto, you just like it's like a malaise. I don't know exactly how to say. Like Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner is an incredibly talented winger in the NHL.
No question.
Incredibly talented. But right now, there are just plays that he usually makes that he just doesn't right now.
No,
he cannot make those plays for the life of him.
Well, what's the problem? I mean, what's the one thing that gets in their way in the first round of the playoffs? It's this mental block and this inability to get over that emotional hump, and now it's just seeping into the regular season. I mean, when they fired Mike Babcock, they weren't playing terribly, but there just wasn't this connection.
Right.
People weren't on the same page.
I just think
this team has never seemingly gotten on the same page.
No.
Absolutely not.
The only page that it's on the same, it's great on paper on that one page, but for them to collectively work as a group,
it's like that scene in the Mighty Ducks D2 when they're all tied together and they go in separate directions.
Yes.
It's that.
$100.
Absolutely.
And they gave up a 3-1 lead against Montreal last year. And I know Montreal went on this Cinderella run, but every stop that Montreal had an asterisk. So they had Toronto, and Toronto had a mental implosion. They went against Winnipeg, and Mark Scheifele got suspended for that entire series. They went against Vegas. Vegas had a mental block because that's what Vegas does. And they went up again. Well, it's true. Nobody
gave
and
them
then they
anything.
and then they got to Tampa Bay and they got throttled because they met a team that didn't really have any clouds hanging over their head of something that, like, not only do they have to beat Montreal, but they have to overcome this mental block that they've been facing. I got a question for both of you.
Okay.
Do the Toronto Maple Leafs have a better chance with this current roster?
Okay.
These players, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Willie Nylander, Morgan Riley.
Let's put Jason Spezza in there. He is second in scoring.
Okay.
Well, he's in a class of his own. I don't want him lumped together
I love it.
with those egos.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Do they have a better chance winning with those players, or taking those players, trading them for insane assets?
Yeah.
Because I understand the idea that, Mitch Marner's making a lot of money, doesn't perform. You'd be kidding me if you didn't say that you couldn't get an absolute insane return for Mitch Marner. You couldn't get an absolutely insane return for Austin Matthews, whom, guys, he did not sign an 8-year deal with Toronto. He signed a 5-year.
Yeah.
He's not going to be around there forever.
He's got a business casual dress code going into the arena in Toronto. It's anything goes in Arizona, which is where he's from.
Yeah, that's what it is. So that's just my question: is that would you be better looking at this experiment, saying, okay, well they've paid their top players this exorbitant amount of money, which restricts them in having quality depth, and do they say, okay, this experiment failed, now do we do the inverse? Do we stockpile? We don't have to. The thing is, we don't have to sit around and do a rebuild like Philadelphia did this. Philly had assets and Jeff Carter and Mike Richards, and instead of saying, okay, well, we're just going to keep going and blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, they traded those assets, and they had that quick rebounding rebuild that slingshotted things.
I want to interrupt your train of thought because you're making like great points, but I want to know further to that, is Kyle Dubas the GM to manage that?
No.
Because he clearly has a singular way of thinking and doing things.
I think he'd step down before if MLSC came and said, okay, well, hey, this isn't working. He would rather say, well, okay, I'm going down with I would rather resign with my on stance of my players and what's going on. And then you guys go ahead, and if you want to put Shanny in the main hot seat and let him run this thing, that's fine. I think this is his brainchild. This is the thing. He brought on Sheldon Keefe. He had him. I believe it was Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, they were pals and buddies.
They were pals in the OHL. They went to the Marlies. They won a Calder Cup with the Marlies. This has been his brainchild. This has been his thing. All power to someone like Kyle Dubas for trying something like this.
Right.
All power, because that's what the NHL needs. It needs progressive minds. It needs progressive thinking. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
I mean, the key word you just said there is experiment. And
what is this? A 60s key party? Come on. No, I mean, they need progressive thinking individuals in the NHL, which, again, man, I would love to see people that are from
because you know who they're going to bring in?
NHL markets.
They're going to bring in they're going to bring in somebody like Jim Rutherford, a proven winner, and he's going to right the wrong, and it's going to prevent a young, very bright, who's done a tremendous job. I feel, based on watching All or Nothing, I don't necessarily agree with all of his tactics. I feel it's a little too country clubby, a little too. There needs to be separation between the GM and the fact that he's having a conversation with Mitch Marner before Game 7. Well,
I mean, that's what Brian Burke wrote that in his book, right? And whatever you might think about Berkey as a leader, but he just said, okay, well, Dave Nonis is my guy who talks to the players. Like, I just want to have a separate. It's the same thing in Moneyball. Billy Beane says it in Moneyball. He's like, I have a separation. These players, as much as I do care for them, I need to have a separation because they might get traded, they might get cut.
Yeah.
I can't have this emotional attachment to them. And then you look at someone like Kyle Dubas, who can we say that perhaps he has too strong of an emotional attachment to players like Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, as they are, is like they're young men and they're my boys.
I think he also is super smug and pats himself on the back for being able to afford all of these players and finding a way to sign all of these players.
We can and we will. Remember that.
Yeah.
And every year, there's no question that the 4 players at that core, which we talk about every single year, are tremendous talents. They're unique. I don't really
individually, they're tremendous.
They don't
talents.
work together.
Yes.
And I mean, they should. I mean, Austin Matthews is the second best goal scorer we've seen since Alex Ovechkin, at least within our I'd say whatever generation. I mean, whatever generation idea that you want to have, but like in terms of goals per game, he's second to Alex Ovechkin. You can put Ilya Kovalchuk up there, maybe Steven Stamkos at his peak.
But it's any relationship. If two parties or both parties or however many parties are involved aren't on the same page and working together, it's not working. Find a combination that works and get your assets for what.
Was that a baby?
Yes, that was a baby outside crying.
Was that Mitch Marner? Mitch, get in here. Mitch. No, Mitch.
Don't listen to him, Mitch.
No, Mitch. We don't deke through 4 defenders, Mitchell. This isn't the OHL. Oh, Mitch.
Don't read the replies, sweetie.
Don't read the hidden. Don't read the hidden replies. Don't read the hidden replies.
It's hidden for a reason. But no, I'm very curious. I'm very fascinated to see what's going to happen next because everybody has the right answer.
Or,
yeah.
Let me just put this out there.
Okay.
Maybe this is the adversity they go through early on that'll really bring them together by Christmas, and it'll be a whole
the adversity they had. They've had so many things to rally around. You know, I'm glad that John Tavares is back to being healthy, but like, listen, they were up 3-1 against Montreal, and they
but they cakewalk. They always cakewalk into the playoff.
And then what happened? And that should have been the rallying thing. He's our captain. We need to rally around. And it just
is he their captain?
I feel
just
bad
because they put a C on his jersey.
I think he is.
Their captain.
They put a C on your helmet. It didn't mean shit, literally and figuratively.
Listen, pal, my contract sucks. This Eddie Lack guy gets to start the Winter Classic is bullshit. I want to be traded. Listen, I was about to say I feel bad for Maple Leafs fans. I kind of don't, because but at the same time, I'm like, this is suffering. This is where we have to be empathetic towards other markets as well, because holy shit, we were one loss away from stuff seemingly becoming nuclear in this market, I think.
Absolutely.
That Chicago game? Oh, what did you text?
Because this whole podcast is about gambling.
Oh.
The Gamble Cast. What's happening?
Gamble Cast.
Oh,